right, good morning, everybody. It is 9 o'clock. We will now call to order the City Council, Hutchinson City Council meeting for December 19th. Please call roll.
Garza.
Here.
Goss.
Here.
Bass.
Here.
Richardson.
Here. Next item.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, prayer from Pastor Dubovich.
No, you got it the first time.
All right, thank you.
Let's pray. God of justice and mercy, we thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. But give us a spirit of service, O God. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence that your creation deserves. We thank you, O God, for being Emmanuel, God with us. Open our eyes to realize this each day as we interact with others. Help us to be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving one another, just as you forgave us. Show us creative ways to love and care for those outside of our homes. Fill us to overflowing with your love for the lost. Teach us to do acts of kindness to those who are in need at this time of the year. And I pray, O God, for this group of individuals who make up the members of the City Council. Give them wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on the items before them this day. May every decision be righteous in your sight, for our benefit and for your glory. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, and through the power of the Holy Spirit, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Item 4, the presentation regarding the Jobs for America Graduates Program will be moved to a meeting in early 2024, so we'll go on to oral communications from the audience.
All right, thank you. So this is the section of the meeting that we open up the podium for members of the audience who would like to make comments on community matters that are not currently on the agenda for today's meeting. Those agenda items will be, there will be opportunity to speak on those agenda items, which include the budget, the island annexation, the Bob Helfrich Memorial Trail, a setback, payroll items, bid results, and sports arena bleachers. So if you have something to comment that aren't one of those items, please feel free to come up to the podium, and you have 5 minutes. That are not part of those items, yes. And you please state your name and address for public record.
Dennis Gilliland, 435 Urban Drive. I've got a couple of three things. We are building a bike park. Is our citizens not just as important as our children? We need some sidewalks. I've seen several people about hit out there on West 4th Street. A year ago, a little girl dumped her baby in the stickers trying to get off the road to keep from getting hit. I'm disabled. I like to walk to try to keep my health. I can't walk on that soft ground. And there's nothing else out there to walk on. 4th Street, 5th Street, Nickerson Boulevard. And then we got very little police patrol out there. Friday and Saturday night sounds like a drag strip on 4th Street. You don't see an officer unless you call them. And we don't have money for sidewalks. Let me jump back. We don't have the money for the sidewalks. Where we're finding money to run a water line clear to South Hutch, past South Hutch. And money for this bike park. And yes, the kids need something to do. The skateboard park ain't used that often. I've been down there several times. There's been 1 or 2 people. You pull up into the parking lot down there, you see needles laying places. You know, we need some sidewalks. There's also sidewalks in this town that are supposed to have had wheelchair ramps 15 years ago. They're not there. You know. I like this town, but it's getting a little ridiculous. You know. And that's pretty much all I got to say, guys.
I understand where you're coming from. The sidewalk discussion is ongoing, where we put sidewalks, how we prioritize. The water line is not funded. It is simply saying, and we can get into this in a little bit. More information will come up in the agenda item. The sidewalk discussion is definitely a debatable topic. There's a lot of people that feel one way or another strongly about sidewalks. The ADA accessibility is lacking on a number of areas, and it's not a cheap item. And especially, there was a group that we talked about on West 5th quite a while in regards to getting about a mile of sidewalk. And rough estimation, just ballparking, you're looking at about $1 million project to run a mile of sidewalk on West 5th. And is the money best suited there, or is it best suited to add more accessibility for RCAT service or something like that? And where do you weigh those options out to better serve the community as a whole? But it's not stopped. This is ongoing discussion. We're going to talk about some town hall items later to get more community input on things like sidewalks. So thank you for coming. Anyone else have questions or comments, public comments for the podium? For items not on the agenda? If not, we'll move on to the next item, please.
Item 5, consent agenda.
Are there any questions or comments from city council members on the consent agenda?
I would like to thank Dave Sotelo personally for his hard work. I know he did promoting the boards and getting people to sign up, and I know that that's a challenge each year to fill the empty seats. So thank you to everybody who stepped up and put their name in the hat to serve, and hopefully they gain valuable experience and are able to move the needle on the projects that are in particular to their service. But I've read the consent agenda. I have no other conversation.
All right.
And to follow up on that, this is the first year we've had it all one time a year so that we don't have an ongoing issue. So hopefully that'll be a little more congruent with us.
If there aren't any more comments or questions on the consent agenda, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Hutchinson.
All right. Next, yes. Next item, please.
Item 6A, public hearing and adoption of amended 2024 budget.
I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So
So-
moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Angela Richard, Director of Finance. Our 2023 budget was adopted and filed in September of 2022. At that time, we weren't aware of some things that may make us exceed our budget in 2023. The Gulf has good news in that it's seen increased activity, which leads to increased income, but also leads to increased expenses in some areas. So we're asking that you consider amending the Gulf Fund to account for that. You will notice that the anticipated subsidy from the general fund will be less than budgeted and originally. So that is good news. The other fund that is anticipated to exceed the 2023 budget was the refuse fund. The trash rates from Stutzman's were increased towards the end of December 22 because of a diesel adjustment that is in their contract. So the fees we are collecting and then dispersing to Stutzman's are more than budgeted, but will have no overall effect. It should wash out So staff recommends that you adopt the amended 2023 budget as presented. I'll open it up for questions or any public comment.
All right, we'll start with council members. Are there any questions or clarifications on this?
Clarification, how much did we go over budget? $100,000, is that correct?
We have not gone over budget yet, but this is kind of in anticipation. We're anticipating that golf may go up to 50,000 over in expenditures, but that they should see that in revenue as well. And then for the trash, we should see, I think it's about 100,000 that it may go over expenditures.
Any other questions or comments for her?
Just to clarify that the way in which golf went over, I've read it, but my understanding is that essentially we purchased additional items that were then sold, right? And so that was, the option was to essentially close and stop selling items or to kind of restock, and it was the late in the year restock that was the over budget, right?
Correct. Like some of those items that they are overspending are related to concession stand sales, or it may be related to green fees, so there might be a little overtime or something related to that. So the items that they are going over is in relation to the revenue that they're collecting.
Cost of goods sold.
On the trash, don't we contract it out, right?
We do.
How do you go over? Explain to me how you went over on that.
So when we adopted the budget in September 23, we anticipated the normal 2% adjustment to the refuse rates for 23. That's not what ended up happening because the cost of diesel went over $4 a gallon. And so because of that, there's an option in the contract for Stutzman's to call for rate increases. I believe they could have increased rates up to like 10%, but they increased them 5%. So we had to increase our rates that we were charging customers because of that diesel adjustment, and we didn't know about it until December. So it wasn't factored into the budget as originally presented.
Okay.
And that $4 benchmark, is that built into the contract?
Yes, so after a few months of being under $4 a gallon average, then we could decrease rates. So we're watching that.
Okay. And so when we go to renegotiate the contract next time, is there a possibility to raise the $4 benchmark to like $4.05, $4.10 or something like that to essentially push off this happening possibly again?
There probably is the option for us to open that up for discussion. I can't remember when the contract comes up, but it's quite a ways out.
Okay.
We've extended that contract recently, so it doesn't
Yep.
come up for renegotiation.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members? If not, I'll open it up to the public for comment. If you have comments on the budget adjustments, please come up to the podium. Okay. If there are no other questions, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Now there is the entertain a motion to approve the amended budget as presented.
I move to approve the amended budget as presented.
Any other questions or a second on that?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 7A, consider ordinance annexing land not adjoining the city.
Paul Brown, City Attorney. And Council, you have a proposed ordinance before you to incorporate certain land. It's identified as the K96 Kimball Industrial Park, which is adjacent to K96 across the highway from Crupper's Corner. We've talked before about the process of this annexation that is according to KSA 12520C. The owners have consented in writing to the annexation of the land. The city then asked the county to make a finding that it would not inhibit development in the area, and the county has done so. Now it comes back to this body for the actual annexation, and you can see that in the ordinance with the legal description of the properties that would then be joining the city. It is not adjacent to the city, which is why we're following this particular statute. It also includes the designation, the designation of the zoning classification of I-3 Heavy Industrial District. And I included some of the provisions out of the zoning regulations to kind of show you what classification it really has, what kind of uses can occur there. And I think it's worth noting that many of them, in addition to just being zoned properly, require conditions for design conditions for a business to locate there. Some require an actual conditional use permit. So it's, at this point there's no committed project. So there is further review that will come from the Planning Commission and ultimately before the City Council. Questions from the council?
Questions?
No, not at this point. This is something we have to do. We want to move on.
So there are other opportunities for people to provide input about the process.
Yeah,
Down-
because
further down the
that's
line
why I
as well.
included the tables, because that will, there have to be specific findings, design conditions. If it's a conditional use permit, then all that comes before the Planning Commission and ultimately approved by the City Council. At this point, it just brings it within the city limits.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna talk among council members and questions and whatnot, then I'll open it up for public comment and questions. So a couple things to point out. So this is being zoned I-3 if it gets annexed into the city.
Correct.
The whole reason we are going down this route is to just offer the possibility of water being taken to that business park if an entity is in need of water and land of that size. We're not obligating ourselves to start doing construction tomorrow on a water line. It is only saying we have the ability to provide water, we have the water rights, and allows the chamber to market the property with a certain amount of water available to that property. If at such time an entity were to move into that park and have a need for that water, the cost would go into that business park itself. It would be most likely bonded and then paid back through utility fees paid for by that entity. If there was no need for water at that park, there really is no need for the city to keep that property annexed in the city of Hutchinson. We currently do not have a policy for an extraterritorial jurisdiction around the city of Hutchinson. We have no need to have an ETJ around that property and affect any development around that property. Just the property itself that's being annexed would follow the city policies and procedures and proceedings for development like we do any other industrial park or property within the city of Hutchinson. So all we're saying is with this annexation is any development on that dirt would have to follow the same rules as it would within the city limits of Hutchinson. Now, good or bad or otherwise, what that does is typically development in the county has certain rules and regulations, and as you get into different jurisdictions that have higher populations, those rules, regulations, and procedures tend to get more robust. So I would say there would typically be more opportunities for public input for the development of a facility on this property if it's annexed into the city of Hutchinson versus otherwise. I would throw that out there, whether that's good or bad. That's just information to look at. And if I'm misrepresenting that, please say something, but that's stuff I've been thinking about. Does the council have any more questions, concerns at this time? Otherwise, I'll open the podium up for comment from the public. All right. If there's anyone that is concerned or has questions or clarifications on this island annexation, please come to the podium and say your name and address and let us know what your questions are.
My name is Irene Barkman, 504 Lake Bedell Drive, Hutchinson 67501. My question is, just like we have Hutchinson, South Hutchinson, and then we have the city of Hutchinson again. So my question is, how does the South Hutch come into this play?
In regards to this development here,
Yeah.
the only reason it's being annexed is because of the water rights that can be provided. Just the city of Hutchinson has that tool, and we're able to bring that to the table. If the county or city of South Hutch had that, we wouldn't need to be involved. And it's a joint effort between the three entities.
Okay.
What other concerns do you have
That's
there?
it.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
thank you.
And we won't be erecting signs that say now entering Hutchinson or anything
No.
like that. Like it's simply like
You
just this.
Welcome to Hutchinson. Thank you for visiting within a mile. Yeah.
Goodbye.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning, you guys. My name is Karen Drake. I live at 1906 East Trail West Road. We are Elmer, and that is the community in which this is being built in. I'm looking at the map, and is all of that been annexed? Will all of that land be annexed? Has all of that land been promised to sell?
I believe so. It has to be under an agreement before it can be annexed.
Whoa, I didn't know that. Okay,
I
so
believe it's just under 500 acres, if I'm
Yeah.
understanding correct.
less than a section. Okay. Well, that kind of puts a different spin on it. I think there are 4 houses there that are going to be affected quite a lot because they butt right up against the property, as you can see, or can't.
The immediate, the idea is, the whole property, the idea is to develop it, I'm sure, at some point. Otherwise, there was no point in trying to get the property under an agreement and to zone it. Whether it's within the city or the county, the idea is to develop the property. The only part the city has an interest in is if it has a need for water.
Okay.
We have that. Otherwise, there was no reason for us to annex it.
Correct. I understand that, the infrastructure and everything. So I guess another question that I would have is, I don't know, I mean, we are a small business owner and we can't find people to work. How are you going to find people that are going to take these jobs? Where are you going to put them? And then that leaves our road, Trail West Road, from Yoder Road all the way to 96, there is not a stop sign. And so that's going to be 71 Speedway is what it's going to end up. And we have a lot of agricultural people who drive down that road with big tractors, big headers, hoppers, things like that. So that is a concern of mine as well. I feel that maybe we're behind the 8 ball on this, and we as the community of Elmer did not know this was going on.
Yeah, and I'm a little, I don't know if I'm concerned or if it's a process issue in regards to when an annexation request comes up, what kind of notifications are required. Apparently
None.
notifying, right. And in regards to the city of Hutchinson and our planning and zoning regulations, there is a requirement for variances, and I don't know if the special use permits are different, but any development that requires public input has to be notification within a certain radius of the property. So
Okay.
where the neighbors can come and speak their mind,
Okay.
either in favor or against
And that is
The
taken
request.
into consideration?
well,
Would
if it's a
that-
planning and zoning aspect, yeah.
Yeah.
Would that apply here though? Because our boundary stops at the red mark, and if those neighbors are 300 feet outside of that, they're not our residents. So is there still a requirement for notification?
I don't think it states in our planning and zoning regulations that, I think it just says within a certain radius we have to notify neighbors.
Okay.
But anything that goes on here is going to be very public. I mean, it's going to be hard
Right.
not to
We've
know that something's going
Peeled
on.
back the curtain at this point, and everything is all public. I
Okay,
know you
so-
probably feel like you've been kept in the dark, and I think a lot of people have, and
Yes.
I believe that intent is because that's the property owner's right to do so. At this point, when we asked for the county to look and say, does this, I don't know what the right word was, impede growth or whatever it was, that made the map public. And so from this point on, the rest of this is a process that is outlined by statute and requires certain notifications, requires certain public hearings, that sort of thing. So if there is something that is proposed that you take issue with, by all means, you have every right to speak out at it or speak to us, because this would be Hutch.
Right.
So to speak out at those public forums, to contact us directly, to go through all of those channels, whatever channel you prefer.
Okay.
So obviously there's nationwide, there's demand for large sites like this. So this wouldn't be going on if we didn't think that there was fish swimming around looking for a site like this. Now, to what use and to what level they're going to put traffic on roads, how much employment, we don't have those numbers, and we won't know those until someone signs the dotted line to do this project. It could be that we could go 5 years and no one does anything. We don't know. If 3 years from now or 2 years from now or tomorrow someone says, we want that property for an industrial development, they're going to have to go through the pre-design process and then the design review process with the city of Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get reviewed by planning and zoning. It's going to get reviewed by building inspections, fire inspections. It's going to have to go through all those processes just like any other development in the city of Hutchinson. And all those are public, for public input. If it's a variance or I think a special use permit, notification has to be sent out to neighbors. I don't know what else to say as far as public input.
I'd like to address your concern about the road and the stop sign and increased traffic. I think that's one. It's kind of a chicken and egg thing. Paving a street, making improvements on a street probably doesn't make sense until we know what's going there and that sort of thing. But I definitely foresee an increase in traffic. I think everybody would anticipate that, an increased need for stop sign, for road improvements and that sort of thing. So I would say that's appropriate.
That's part of the process.
Whether we annex it or not, any development, I mean, that was brought up when we add businesses on 96 Highway, whether it requires merge lanes, things like that, it's always reviewed.
Okay.
And that's a common occurrence, because if it's a large development with a lot of employees, and that's another thing is, if it's a large employer, they may not be drawing just from within 5 miles. They might be looking at 30, 40 miles, because driving a half mile to commute or half an hour to commute to work is not uncommon nowadays. I think that's called an employment basin. But yeah, I mean, these are all concerns, and that may inhibit someone from bringing a business in there too. I mean, that's nationwide. Where are you going to find employees? And that's something that people smarter than me that are putting large industrial developments in definitely look at.
Well, I don't know what happened to Siemens, but I'm in favor of moving this over there. And I know you had said there wasn't enough acreage. So you must have somebody or an idea of what is going to go in. And I'm just kind of asking for transparency from each of you.
The Siemens property fits certain size of industrial developers, and it gets to a certain acreage. Mm-hmm. And there is a national demand for larger sites. And there's not many in Kansas that can feed that type of site. And we have an opportunity here where we compete against, say, McPherson or Salina, just to have a industrial park that can attract someone without, because we don't have cheap power like McPherson, we don't have the big intersection like Salina, but we have some water rights we can offer, and we have a large property we can use for industrial development as a overall community, Reno County, South Hutchinson.
Okay, so are you looking for people or an industry that can take up all that land, or are you looking for multiple?
I don't think we'll be picky as a community.
But if you find somebody that fits in Siemens area, would you use that first?
That would be up to the developer and our marketing arm of the city of Hutchinson on how that goes. I don't know why someone wouldn't choose Siemens first, because it's a more developed property. It'd be lower cost of entry for an industrial developer if it fits their needs with size.
Okay.
But you get someone, there's a lot of them looking for 200 acres or more, and we don't have that at Siemens.
And that, I'll further expand on that. The chamber over the last 6-8 years has created a spreadsheet of all the people, all of the projects that come across their desk. Here's what we need. We haven't been able to compete with any of those projects because we don't have enough acreage. And some are public, some aren't. Some are, just testing the waters. But they know, the chamber knows and understands why we're not getting some of this some of these industrial projects. And the main reason is enough land to accommodate what they're wanting. So there's a lot of data out there we're using to make a decision, like where it is and how big it needs to be to attract some of these projects. And we don't know what's going to go in there, who will be first to the table. So
We wouldn't be going through the costs and the efforts if we didn't think that this was a viable, marketable solution for a potential business. And we've been getting a lot of pressure even before any of us were on city council. We need a lot more industrial growth, industrial jobs in our area. And trying to do that in a way that appeases as many people as possible without causing as much pain as possible is extremely difficult. And I think that's where we're at right now, is how do we do this in such a way that is palatable for the people that live in the area. And it's a difficult situation to go through. It's a process. Yeah. But again, like we talked about with transparency, and as far as the city of Hutchinson's involvement, I think it offers the people that live in there more opportunities to be involved in either being for or against development on that property.
But isn't that a moot point? It's going to happen.
As far as annexation and saying we can offer water,
yeah,
I don't see how that hurts anything. It's still a property that can be developed whether it's in the city of Hutchinson or not.
Yeah.
I think to speak to his point earlier was that by it being in the county, and the owner of those owners maybe of the properties has expressed interest of selling. By bringing it into the city, it puts a whole lot of layers of code and all of that.
Sure.
Whereas if it were to stay in the county, then it follows the county rules, the guidelines, all of that, and those are a lot more lax than the city's.
I get that. Yeah, I get that.
So there's that benefit to you guys as well. Karen, where does your home fall on the map?
I'm
if
east.
you don't mind sharing.
No.
Well, she told us her address.
I know. People are touchy about.
I'm east of
Okay.
that, about 2.5 miles on the blacktop.
Okay.
Yeah. But I have neighbors here are right across the street and right next to the land.
Okay.
And we might not be a big group, but this is our community that is being affected. And we got blindsided. We had no idea this was going on.
Right.
So I'm just here for information, clarification, and some transparency on what you feel is going to go out there, because really, I don't know why you would go through all of this if you didn't have a clue of what opportunity is out there for someone.
We are aware of there are opportunities out there for a property like this. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't think
Correct.
there are. Now, who or what entity would actually say this is what I want? We don't have that answer.
we do have a clue on what we've missed out on, Karen.
Which was?
They're all on a spreadsheet. Some of
Okay.
them are code named and
Okay.
that I don't even know, but they're.
Sure.
I have a question for you.
You bet.
You speak of the Siemens land. Are you under the impression that Siemens isn't working, or?
Oh, I know there's a few people out there.
I think there's 150 right now
Okay.
back to work. Which
Okay, great.
to your point, I know it's come and go and it's like shut down and then.
Right, right.
But I wanted to be sure that you knew and understood that they're back full bore, as
Good.
far as I know.
I think we were referring to the remaining land out there at that industrial park that's developed.
Yeah, and those little parcels are being looked at by several people as well, but my understanding is that there's not gigantic parcels left.
So, can I ask why not closer to Hutchinson? I know there's land on the north side of Agri Center and north of Cutters.
So just my 2 cents, there's a lot of gas lines up there. It makes it very difficult to develop
Oh, okay, I get
large
that.
parcels. There's a spider web going in through there, and it's fine for smaller buildings that you can fit in between the gas lines, but
Okay.
if you had a large development, it would cause a lot of issues.
Okay, I get that. Okay.
And I will say part of the attractiveness to this land is there's a railroad close by.
Unless you're right by it and it goes off all night long. That's not real attractive.
I have a
Hutchinson
building.
and South Hutchinson, Reno County in general, love the.
I have a
part of
building
living
right here where I have to wait on that very same train many times a week.
Oh,
So,
well, it has a tendency to run about 11 o'clock at night, and from what I can remember when I lived near the tracks. So I guess, so those are my questions. I will watch the website to try and stay informed, but I feel that's a two-way street, and that, our community, Elmer, needs to be involved in, what goes in out there, because we have to live with it.
Well, and we all interact with each other. I mean, you and I know each other.
Yeah.
And if I know of something coming up for public input, I'll make sure and reach out to you.
I appreciate that.
Because otherwise,
I appreciate
I'd be ducking and dodging you at the grocery store, and I don't
Yes.
want to do that.
Well, no, I don't go to the store.
Karen,
Same idea.
I got one. Karen,
Yes.
before I came on the council, I had the same questions you do. Trust me, you come sitting where we're sitting, we're doing the very best. How can we answer a question to you saying how can do that? And this young man is sitting here saying, why are we spending all this money?
Yep.
So there's a lot of things. We got to get jobs. We got to fix sidewalks. We got to do
Yep.
all this. And trust me, we're hard at work, and there's things that's in the drawings or whatever. People might come to this city. You have to. We have to do the best for our citizens. And if we're doing
Absolutely.
this, then that's the best for our citizens. We have to do the best about fixing sidewalks and all that stuff. So there's a lot going on right now.
Yes.
So we will be transparent to you as much as possible that we can. So I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but we're citizens too that sat there. And unless you start sitting here and all the things that's coming at us at one time, you just have to trust us that we are doing the best we can for the city of Hutchinson.
And I believe that, and I appreciate that. But I also have a backyard that I'm trying to protect.
Well, I understand that. Well, we want to be good neighbors. We want to be good neighbors, and we come in there. We want to be good neighbors to you. That's what I'm saying. I'm sitting here thinking about this, but this young man here is saying, "Well, we're doing this, while we're doing that," and that's good questions. But you have to trust us. We're doing the best we can for the city of Hutchinson.
Okay.
All right.
We just want to be involved.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for
Thank-
your time. Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.
too.
Yeah, I'm Michael Morwitz, 302 East Trails West, which I'll point out, I'll be surrounded. I live right there. I moved there 12 years ago, trying to get away from the city. I lived in Terryville. I thought I was safe. Now I have Hutchinson all the way around, which I guess that's part of progress. But like Karen says, it bothers me what's going in there, because look where I'm at. I'm right there, almost an island there, within your island.
Right.
And one concern is what's going in there. Another thing, is this going to be a 10-year tax exempt for whoever business comes in there? You don't know.
I don't know. It would be up to the entity to approach and ask for incentives like that. It kind of depends on what other needs or burden they put on the community as to whether we weigh that out or not.
I remember you said that they'd come in and help pay for the water line and sewer line. Well, I'm looking at it, if this becomes city, I get hit twice. It's going to be a Hutchinson City, the value, my taxes will go up again, like they did this year. on being that close to the city property. And then if somebody wants to buy my place, they're gonna say, well, you live right there by the city and industrial, so my, trying to sell my place is gonna go down and my taxes are going up, so I'm in a no-win situation here. So that's another thing.
And I don't necessarily understand how this would work with the taxes. That'd be up to the county tax appraiser. But if it's annexed into the city, it'd be city property. Would that be comparable to the county property as to how it's taxed? And I'm not sure that would be apples to apples. But I get where you're coming from in regards to.
Yeah, it'd make me kind of irritated if they're going to get a tax break for 10 years like most of them do, and then here mine will be going up in the next 10 years, and my value of my property will go down.
Well, and that's where they have a hearing with you can go and contest based on your property value going down. I don't calculate the property taxes. That would be up to the county tax appraiser. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but it would be a concern. It's definitely going to be a possible change or something to be paying attention to, and I get that. But you would not be in the city of Hutchinson officially. I don't know if that makes you feel any better or not.
It'd be like from here, I own 10 acres there, so it'll be like here from there.
You can throw rocks at the city of Hutchinson from your house.
Another thing, I can't see the part where to help the city of South Hutchinson grow at all. Because one reason, they're limited on their water as it is, and that's why you have to step in to do this. So if they want to put housing in South Hutchinson, help South city limits, they're already at a limit on their water right now. So, and I don't know unless you have to go from there on up to South Hutchinson and supply South Hutchinson city water. So,
the city of South Hutchinson, there's been ongoing discussion on how to help city of South Hutchinson or South Hutchinson, what they can do for their solutions, and I don't know what all their ideas are on improving their water rights and what water they can provide. But my opinion, and I'm not a community member in South Hutch. I like South Hutchinson. I work there quite a bit, but I would find a way to solve a problem if it's going to offer growth, and that's just what we try to do. That's what we're trying to do. If we can grow our community in a way that makes sense, we'll find ways to solve the problem on growing pains. It's better than the other way around and trying to find a way to make things work and having the community shrink, which we don't want that. And I'm being devil's advocate. I know where you're coming from on some of this stuff.
Yeah, I thought Elmer, I said, well, I don't see Elmer growing, so I don't have to worry about it. Little did I know, 12 years later, here I'm going to have city of Hutchinson in my back door. So that's, and I don't blame anybody here. I mean, you need progress. The only thing, one person that irritates me, as I've known him for 12 years, I know the guy. He's got the property around me. And for 12 years, he's been telling me, I'll never sell my property. I'll never sell my property. If I had $100, I'd probably be in Hawaii for the winter. So I'm kind of irritated at him. He's kind of course, my wife would always say, this talks, and this is what's boiled down to, that money talks in everyday life. So that's what's happening.
We really can't. I don't have any idea how that really went down.
I know him real well, and it took some money because he said he would never sell, and he got the contract where they can buy it. So
he's not buying it from us. I promise you that. We're not spending any money here to buy the property. We're just looking at, do we put this within the city of Hutchinson jurisdiction for development or not?
That's what my opinion is. So
okay,
that's what worries me the most is. My taxes will go up because you're going to be there, and then my value of my property is going to go down.
Well, and I'm curious about that too, and that might be worth me having a conversation with the county tax appraiser on how that might work, and then I can reach out to Ms. Drake and kind of share some of that information on what I learned, or just get a better idea how that works out. We can do that on the side because I'm curious too.
That's my biggest concern.
I need to understand that better. Normally, if your value of your property, if it goes down, your taxes go down normally.
You would think so.
Okay, I'm confused on how that could even happen.
Well, are you truly a member of the government? If it goes down, the taxes go up, and if it goes up, the taxes go up.
That's not
That's what I've been hearing from everybody.
I
He's
looked at my.
speaking
That's what
to
everyone
his
tells me.
resale value.
Yeah.
His perceived resale value
Yeah.
would be nil because nobody wants to live next to whatever's going to be there, especially if it's a mystery.
Right.
But the county's going to come back every year and say, no, your property is still worth whatever it was last year
Right.
plus what percent we say. So
Yeah.
his option to sell is going to diminish, but his tax is
Potentially.
not. So your argument would have to be, and I don't know how the county looks at that, but your argument is because of this, my resale value
Yeah.
has diminished.
Which is, we've had offers since I lived there, pretty good, substantial, but if this goes in, I know offers wouldn't be as, because everybody likes to, we had a perfect sitting there, we're by the blacktop, we're by the highway. Anybody give the right tooth to live close to the highway, Wichita, Hutch, South Hutch, we got prime property, and then this is going on, so that's the only thing concerns us.
The only thing I could see to argue, possibly hypothetically, is if a business wanted to buy your property because they saw value in being next to that.
Yep, we thought of that too, but I don't think, we got Amish neighbors to the east of us, and they farmed the 10 acres for us. And it's hard for them, once they're established there, that's where you usually stay. And I can see it'd be kind of hard on them for their situation too. So they have tractors go up and down the road and stuff. So
Gotcha. Okay.
thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Michael.
Good morning.
Hi, I'm Howard Wagler, and I live at 317 East Trail West Road, so I'd be right in the corner. My question is, as I realize, listen, I haven't been to very many of these meetings, but as I listen, thank you for your work.
Oh, appreciate
I
that.
recognize the difficulties of some of that. I understand that. My question, my concern, or just a thought, just for you all, is be as transparent as you would want others to be transparent to you. If you were trade us places, that's it. That's it for me, because I think that's the way we find our way through progress. But when there's things that happen on the side that people are surprised by or under the radar or whatever, that's not helpful for community relationships. And relationships are built when there's transparency and openness. And so, yeah, that would be my encouragement. And that's why we're here. We want to be the same. But I want to encourage you all to do that as well.
I appreciate that, and I think what Ms. Drake said in regards to we didn't know this was happening kind of started the process of, okay, I'm skeptical as a neighbor then if I'm not aware of the island annexation to begin with.
And that's immediate response for all of us when something happens by surprise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're automatically, oh my goodness, I missed that, or that happened behind the scene a little bit. And so, yeah, I would just hold that out.
No, that's very fair.
Thank you.
I appreciate that,
Thank
Howard.
you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Myron Taylor Harris. We live at 315 East Trail West Road. And so right next door to Howard. And my concern was why Mrs. Drake has mentioned the traffic, because there is such a large number of farm implement machinery that use that Trail West Road. And you were mentioning the railroad. Well, that is a major railroad. And there is no traffic signal. It's just a sign. And when people don't live there, they just barrel through that. And I'm surprised there's not been some major deaths on that road, because when we have family from out of county visiting, I say, please pay attention to this railroad, because it is a major railroad line. And so something would need to be, with increased traffic, that railroad crossing would need to be addressed, I feel. I mean, it's a very important thing for public safety. Naturally, being a property owner across from here, as mentioned, the taxation and my property value, I'm very concerned about that. We love living out in the country, away from the city, and greatly enjoy the farming community and our Amish neighbors that farm. And our Amish neighbors are quiet people that they don't get involved in politics. And so sometimes other people like ourselves have to speak because one of the Amish neighbors is right there against that, across the road from us. And I appreciate what has been said here and do ask for transparency. I have a question about the water being brought in by the city of Hutchinson, not knowing what industry or commercial use is going to be used. What about sewage and waste? Where is that going to go? Has that been thought of, where this is going to go, sewage and waste products?
It depends on the entity that goes in there and what their needs are on sewage and waste.
Okay.
It would fall under the city jurisdiction for sewage and waste and have to be taken into account with our wastewater treatment.
Okay, because that's why I was wondering, would it go to the wastewater treatment? Because if certain industries would have possibly, even with environmental protections, there are still waste that is harmful that goes into the land and could contaminate our water.
Are you on well down there?
Yes. And, water is such a concern nowadays, and I totally believe water is the future gold in the world, and because of our contamination. And so,
well, any development that goes there that disturbs more than 1 acre would have to be approved through the State Department of Health for stormwater runoff during the construction process,
okay.
and a notice of intent to see if there's any other concerns that State Department of Health has in regards to that development if it's over 1 acre.
Okay.
So anything that goes in there would be reviewed by the State Department of Health.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes you feel any better at all, but and then we have certain guidelines as a city in regards to how wastewater is handled on job sites as well.
Well, that was one of my biggest concerns, because we've been talking about the water coming in, but not what is produced to go out.
Right.
And I was greatly concerned about that. So.
And again, it's user specific. I mean, just we don't know what we don't know yet. All we're doing is we're trying to say we can put these water rights to use to market this.
Absolutely.
This
and I understand that, and I think that's wonderful, and I agree Hutchinson definitely needs an incentive to bring business in. And I appreciate your hard work on working toward that goal, all of you. We all appreciate that. So thank you for answering my questions.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments or points on this project, this annexation? Councilman, did that bring up any new questions from the council? Did you have any more comments, Mr. Brown?
No.
Okay. With that, then, I guess I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve an ordinance including and incorporating certain land within the limits and the boundaries of the city of Hutchinson, Kansas, K96 Kimball Industrial Park, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions from council? Please call roll.
Garza?
Yes.
Goss?
Yes.
Fast?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes, and I'll be, as I learn new things, I'll be communicating with you for your community. Next item, please.
Item 7B, consider ordinance amending Chapter 13 of the Hutchinson City Code by adding the Bob Helfrich Memorial Trail.
Good morning. Justin Combs, Director of Parks and Facilities. This item is to name an existing trail after Bob Helfrich. The official name we're asking for is Bob Helfrich Bad Bobby Memorial Trail. A little bit about the trail itself. So it's 3.8 miles, commonly referred to as a GVI trail. Why I say commonly referred to is because that's not its official name. All of our trails and parks are officially named in Chapter 13 of the City Code, where it has the name and the short description. This trail has never been added to it. GVI stands for Grand View Interceptor, which is the name of the ditch that it runs next to. So just to be clear, this is a naming and not a renaming of the trail. So I kind of break it down in multiple sections. So this is the section from Plum to Lorraine. And as you cross Lorraine, you have Lorraine to 30th, and then a little spur that goes to Dillon's Marketplace. And then you have kind of the southern section from 30th down to just north of the hospital. And then there's a little spur that goes out to Lorraine near 23rd, I think is what that is. Mm-hmm. So that's the trail itself. Also in 2024, in the approved budget, there is funding to build a trailhead on this site. So this is the North Plum site. So it's a little over a half an acre. We've been working with Jim Strawn, who owns the property. He's graciously agreed to donate to the property to the city for the trailhead that's in the budget in 2024. It is acting as a trailhead at the moment, so it's just kind of an unimproved gravel lot with a gravel entry. And the reason I bring this up is this would be one of the primary areas that we would have signage with a name, as well as most likely a plaque to kind of honor the legacy of Bob. But here's a draft of what that, or a working draft of what that trailhead could look like. So concrete parking lot, space for I think 12 vehicles, and then a small open air gazebo with a few picnic tables. So a little bit about Bob himself, and there's a lot of other folks here who I'm sure are going to want to speak on this, so I'll make this piece kind of quick. In 2022, he was inducted to the Kansas Cycling Hall of Fame. He's a long-standing Kansas race promoter and official. Actually, in one of the letters of recommendation, there's a couple letters in your packet. Hopefully you got a chance to read those. It noted that Bob actually officiated more races than any of the other officials in Kansas combined. So a long-standing kind of fixture for Kansas cycling. Anything that happened in this community, from cycling, running, walking events, he was always there volunteering. He was very active in the Vitality team, which is now Bike Walk Hutch, volunteered at local Boy Scout troops. And then several years ago, the county put together a bike route map, and he was integral in kind of creating those routes and making sure those were safe routes to encourage folks to get out in the county and do longer rides. So it is our recommendation to amend Chapter 13, Section 101, adding this trail name and this property to the ordinance, which would give it its official name. And so I know that was pretty quick on the technical end, so I want to answer questions on the technical side, and then I know we have some folks also that want to speak as well. So are there any questions on the naming piece?
Any questions on this?
No.
Besides the improvements at the trailhead, will there be, so I'll admit I'm not like a biker, are there signs that tell you where to go on the trail and that sort of thing if you're not familiar with the trail?
There will be. So right now the trail's not really well signed. I think there's a couple spots, maybe just one spot on this trail. So that will definitely be a process of adding some signage with the new name, as well as some just wayfinding and directional. Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a much better reference than using GVI or ditch trail. But I'd be interested. Any other questions or comments from City Council before we open it up?
I have one more question. This is the trail that had, I don't know, there was like a sand issue,
Yes.
and has that all been
Yes.
repaired? Okay.
Yeah, so when we did a sand seal a year and a half ago, the truck actually broke through, and we cut all that out and replaced it with concrete. So, yeah. And then we sealed over the top of it. So.
Okay.
So there is a little cost with the signs to do this.
There would be. I am pretty confident the city won't incur any of that cost. There have been multiple people that have already reached out wanting to donate towards something. So I think once we have the trailhead fully designed and ready to bid, we can look at a signage package. And I think the community, Bob's legacy was enough that I think the community will respond with some donations for that. So.
Well, this whole biker gang showed up to intimidate
There
us
is a few
today,
folks
so.
here that they would like to speak. So, the official request and sponsor of the naming application did come from Vitality Team, and now known as Bike Walk Hutch. Bob Updegraff is here. He's no longer the chair of that group. Was a longtime chair of that group, longtime member of that team. So, if you have any questions for me, I'll answer those. If not, I'll invite Bob up. So. All right.
No questions, please. Invite.
Thanks. Justin, appreciate it. Bob Updegraff, 10-11 Golden Arrow, and retired 50 years from Harley's Bicycles. So my input on this comes from both places, but at the same time, I wanted to give you a little bit of back history. Years ago, the first organized bike ride Hutchinson had was called the Minuteman Metric, and over the years that went on for several years, and then at the same time all of those funds went to a variety of different spots that most people don't know. Put the Hutchinson Police Department on bicycles. It worked for scholarships for the college. This is where the money went that was charged to the participants at that time. Middle school music program. It went to Wounded Warrior Project, and also money back to the trail system. So many of the little gazebos that you see, etc., some of the signage, all of those things were possible because of the bike trail. And I say that, bike trail and bike rides, and the reason I say that is because Bob Helfrich was an intricate part of all of those. So you can't hardly look at anything cycling oriented that doesn't have his footprint. So his besides the Kansas Bike Hall of Fame thing, his local contribution to this was dramatic. And he was always available. You just didn't even have to ask. He was there. He was a member of the original Minuteman Metric group. He was also a current member of Vitality Team, Bike Walk Hutch today. And that part is also great. The bike ride that has contributed to most of the trail updates is now called the Sandplum Bike Ride, and it's been going on for years. Usually has anywhere from 110, 120 to as many as 300 at one time in order to bring cyclists in. The other thing about the trail system, remember, is that, and it gets a little tunnel vision because it gets bicycled a lot, but there's also walkers and joggers and skateboarders and runners, and it's a very, very well used I'm going to say customer service area for Hutchinson. It brings young people to Hutch. People want to know the trails that you already have. They want to know how all that works. And when Kevin Blything, myself, laid out the precursor to the Jim Martinez Trail, the first section, and took it to the committee at that time, and I'm not sure, it would have been kind of a vitality committee, but different. And when we took that there, Bob was there to advise and give us suggestions on the ways to go. And that trail part would have went from Rice Park to Cary Park. That was the first section that was done. So, and Mr. Richardson said it best, GVI ditch is like terrible. So it's it's something that the Bike Walk Hutch Committee has worked on for a long, long time to try and get that named appropriately. And finally, something has come along where it deserves a better name, and Mr. Helfrich's stamp on this trail is well deserved. So we'd appreciate your help on that.
I do have a question. What's the reason why he's referred to as Bad Bobby? And if that story gets out, is that someone we're going to be embarrassed by as a city? If you don't mind, I'd like to know.
Yeah, I'll let Kathy
Okay.
answer that. And his cycling expertise, as far as being a cyclist, is it's unbelievable. So I'll let her answer that particular question. And if you have any others, I'd be glad to be the historian on this deal.
No, I'm good. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to let you know that several years ago I was stricken with a rare disorder that affected my vocal cords. Lucky me. I like to tell people that the universe was trying to get me to shut up. But y'all, it didn't work. My husband, Bob, lived in Hutchinson for 50 years of his life. I was married to him for more than 40 of those years. He passed away January 19th of this year after a shocking diagnosis of acute myeloid leukemia. From the time of diagnosis to the time of his death was 52 days. Not long after that, I knew that his legacy needed a permanent memorial. I'd like to thank the Hutchinson Recreation Commission and Bike Walk Hutch for getting behind the idea I had of naming the trail after Bob. Thanks also to Justin Combs for all of his support and putting up with me barging into his office anytime I had an idea. He's a great guy. Also, many, many thanks to my friend Jim Strawn for donating the parking lot land just about there at 39th and Plum. I'm hoping that it will soon become a respite for people on the trail with a proposed gazebo, some picnic tables, bike racks, and hopefully maybe even a water fountain for people like me that are out there running. I will try to not take too much time to wax poetic about my husband. So I'll just give you a short synopsis of his legacy. From a grassroots cycling club called the Hutchinson Headwinds 40 years ago, to a licensed racer, to USA cycling official for more than 20 years, and finally into the Kansas Cycling Association Hall of Fame just last year, Bob Helfrich has had quite the ride. He simply loved riding, and he loved sharing that joy with others as well. He fixed bikes for friends, gave many riding tips, and showed support at all times. Anytime someone would express fear or uncertainty about a cycling challenge or trying a longer distance, he would always say, his standard reply was always, "Sure you can, why not?" He supported cycling and wellness activities in our community, from putting on tricycle races on a third Thursday, repairing bikes at the Salty Dog, to presenting the first professional downtown racing criterium that our city had ever experienced. His cycling escapades are what garnered him the name Bad Bobby. He would often ride to K-State football games. He once rode to a friend's home in Arkansas. He did bike across Kansas nearly every year, but not like the average person. He would ride his bike to the start of the event halfway across Kansas, complete the event, and many times ride his bike back home. He also regularly rode to and from our son's home in Wichita. His most loved accomplishment was riding to his sister's home to Maryland. This was about 5 years ago. There were no hotels involved. He packed his bike, he packed his panniers, he had a portable tent, and he camped wherever he could find a spot every night, all the way to Maryland. And I said a lot of prayers. I'd often ask him where he was headed when he was getting ready to go on a bike ride. He'd shrug his shoulders, walk outside, going, depended on which way the wind was blowing that day. Once he said, I'm headed to Illinois. I said, okay, the state or the avenue? He was a quiet and humble man. He never wanted any attention. Sorry, dear. Thank you for your time. If there is ever something you feel like you cannot accomplish, please remember these words from our bad Bobby. Sure you can. Why not? I know these words have kept me going this last year. I hope to see you all soon, sometime in the near future, on the Bad Bobby Trail. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that. Are there any other questions or comments in regards to this item?
My name's Charles Maw, 3106 Tulane Place, Apartment B, Hutchinson, Kansas. And I had Bob come over and help me out with my tricycle. I was, needed to put a shift cable in, and I was having trouble anchoring it. I was thinking I had to scrape the paint, brace it into place, and he said, just use a hose clamp.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Greg Holmes, 4 Whitmore Road. I just got to say, from an adding interest and color to our community, having a Bad Bobby Trail is pretty cool.
Any other comments? Does the council have any comments or questions? If not, I would entertain. Oh, no. All right, and I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve an ordinance amending section 13-101 of chapter 13, City Park of the Code of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, and authorize the mayor to sign.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza?
Yes.
Goss?
Yes.
Fast?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 7C, consider ordinance ordering vacation of a portion of a building setback line at 4606 Winesap Drive.
Paul Brown, City Attorney. Just to give you an idea where the property is, council, it's right up against the back of K61 north of 43rd. Literally, it's a residential property, and it goes right against the highway right-of-way, the realigned highway right-of-way. And this has been approved by the Planning Commission to vacate a portion of the setback just so that an accessory structure can be built there. It was unanimously approved by the Planning Commission, and we'd ask the council to do the same.
All right. Is there anyone that has any questions or comments on this from the audience? Does the council have any questions or comments?
No.
Then I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve an ordinance ordering vacation of a portion of a building setback line located in the Sand Dunes replat and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 7D, consider resolution appropriating funds to pay payrolls and claims for 2024.
Angela Richard, Director of Finance. Every year I come before council and ask that you approve the resolution appropriating funds to pay payrolls and claims for 2024. What this means is that we are asking permission to pay these claims before they are presented to council in your packet. We have various procedures and internal controls to make sure that we are paying funds appropriately. First of all, you have the budget, which is approved, and we must maintain our budget, and our expenditures must be within budget. We have purchasing policies, internal controls, and monthly reporting to help oversee expenditures of municipal funds. And as I mentioned, you have the detailed list of claims paid within your council packet. So the issue is whether we should decide to continue as we are now, paying claims before you see them, or if you would like to see them before they are paid. Our recommendation is that we continue as we are doing, paying them beforehand so we can avoid late fees and conduct business in a timely manner with our vendors. Are there any questions?
Any comments or questions on this? Nope. All right. If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve a resolution providing for the appropriation by fund of the budget of the city of Hutchinson for the year beginning January 1st, 2024, and appropriating money from the various funds to pay payrolls and claims against the city of Hutchinson for the calendar year 2024, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 7E, consider resolution for gap waiver.
Okay, Angela Richard, Director of Finance. This is another resolution that I bring before council every year. Per the statutes of Kansas, we must follow the GAAP requirements, generally accepted accounting principles, unless the municipality opts to adhere to the Kansas regulatory basis of accounting. This is what we have followed for numerous years. So every year, the city must approve the resolution and allowing the municipality to apply Kansas regulatory basis instead of GAAP. I have a brief synopsis of the main differences between GAAP and the Kansas regulatory basis, also known as KMAG. The main things you'll note there is that we do not report assets like buildings, vehicle, infrastructure on our financial statements. There are also other various liabilities that we do not record on our financials. GAAP is a more complex way of reporting. We feel that the citizens and staff and council better understand KMAG versus GAAP. It also lessens the burden of reporting and the cost to prepare the audit. So staff would recommend approving the resolution to waive GAAP.
I would also not like to see changing year to year so we can compare things easier from year to year. I would entertain a motion on that, or any comments.
I will move to approve a resolution declaring that the requirements of KSA 75-112A are not relevant to the preparation of financial statements and reports, waiving the requirement of conformity with the act in favor of conformity with the cash basis and budget laws of the state of Kansas, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Mayor,
Yes,
can
sir.
I ask you, we have 2-minute break so I can go to the bathroom?
Yes, absolutely. We will take a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
Back at 10:25, please. right. It's been 5 minutes. We will get back into session. Let's see, we were on which item?
Item 8A, consider bid results for 16th and Baker Bridge replacement over the east side drain.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Jim Weber, and I'm part of your team with JO Consulting Group that's providing consultant in city engineering services and supporting your engineering department. This morning, I would like to talk about the 16th and Baker Bridge replacement. So the purpose of the project is to reconstruct a bridge that runs between 16th Avenue and Baker Street intersection. Currently 2 corrugated metal pipe culverts, and they'll be replaced with a multi-cell reinforced box bridge. JO Consulting Group did do the design for the project. The project is approved in the 2023 CIP budget for $1.2 million, and it would be funded with general obligation bonds. There were a total of 5 bids, so we opened on November 21. The low bid was received from Claver Construction in the amount of $960,957.10. That bid is both below the engineer's estimate, which was $1.368 million, and the project budget. We believe this is a very favorable and competitive bid for the project. Claver recently completed the Mine Road Culvert Replacement Project and are currently working on the North Pleasant Street and Hoagland Street bridge replacement projects over the east side drain. We do recommend that the council approve the bids and award the project to Claver Construction in the amount of $960,957.10. And I'd be happy to try to answer your questions you might have.
Is there any pause in regards to how much lower it is compared to the other competitive bids?
No. Okay. I think that you're benefiting from the fact they've finished a project in town. They're another project in town. I think they're comfortable with what the city of Hutchinson's doing. They're very comfortable with the environment. The 2 they're on right now are just upstream from the ones that they've bid. So I think this reflects that they see this as stable and they understand what's going on.
Okay. Are they doing the one on Hoagland?
Yes.
Okay.
They're right now. We kind of expect all the paperwork works out, they'll just move right from one to the next and just keep going, which is very good. And Claver, this is the kind of bridge work that this is their thing, their specialty. Some of the stuff that some of the other contractors, that's something they do, but it's not this is about all Claver does, is these type of bridges.
Great. Any other questions? Comments? Nope. Then I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the low bid of Claver Construction in the amount of $960,957.10.
I second that.
Please call roll.
Garza?
Yes.
Goss?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes, thank you, sir. Next item, please.
Item 8B, consider bid results for replacement of the sports arena telescoping bleachers.
Good morning, Justin Combs, Director of Parks and Facilities. If you remember back, I think it was in June or July, we talked about this, where we entered into an agreement with the community college for a 50-50 split for the replacement of the sports arena bleachers. So that's the telescoping, or the blue seats as most people refer to them. So here's some images of the existing bleachers. They were installed in 1981, so it makes them 42 years old. Life expectancy of these bleachers were 25 years, so we've not quite doubled what we would expect out of this bleacher set, really because of the maintenance the college has done on them. Like I said 6 months ago, the primary concern with these is we can no longer get parts and pieces. When we did the remodel, we actually had to remove some seats, so we had some extra parts that we could use, and so we've been using those. But the understructure is really the bigger concern, the drive chain that pushes these in and out. Those chain links, I guess for better lack of words, are no longer made. We had to have them custom machined. So every time the bleachers come in and out, it's a kind of hold your breath and make sure they make it all the way out and make sure they get all the way back in. So we did bid these out. We received bids a couple weeks ago, and we did pre-qualify 2 seating vendors, SOPA Inc. and Heartland Seating. We did go down, so representatives from the city, representatives from the college went to Oklahoma and looked at installations by both of these manufacturers, or both of these vendors. They're not the manufacturers. And then we ended up qualifying a third one who chose not to bid. You do see there's 2 bidding options there, 2024 and 2025. The reason we did that is in our pre-bid meeting, it became clear that the vendors were concerned about the tight time frame and the size of the job. Because summertime is when all bleacher work has to be done. Generally, high schools, colleges across the country, they have that May to August time frame to get a lot of this work done. This is a fairly large project, and so they asked for a 2025 date if possible as well. And so we modified the bid to allow that. And then you can see how they bid. So SOPA, they have a local office in Oklahoma, but their headquarters in Little Rock. They did not feel confident that they could have the material made and crews on site in May of 24. And so they bid on 25. And their budget or their price was $992,000. Heartland Seating out of Shawnee, they felt like they could get it done in 24, and their bid was a little over $1.2 million. They said that their manufacturer will not guarantee prices out to 25, so they couldn't bid on 25. So we did have the conversation with SOPA about if we sign the agreement today and material prices change between now and then. They assured us that price would lock in. They would actually start manufacturing the aluminum decks and everything now, is what we were told. So we are confident that even though that's a year out, that number will hold. So a little bit about SOPA Inc. They represent Hussey Seating. This is one of the installations we looked at. This is actually Enid High School. Very similar in quality to what we have now. In this image, you see wood decks. So we will not have wood decks. We'll have aluminum decks. So the current sports arena bleachers have aluminum. That was one thing we didn't want to spend this kind of money, and then when you get on them, feel like it's a downgrade because now you have wood instead of aluminum. So this image shows wood, but it will be aluminum decks. They self-store, so they store themselves. But when you pull them out, there is a manual. You have to. They're hydraulically assisted, but you do have to flip the rows of seats up. Our current bleachers are fully automatic, which is part of the reason why they're failing, is because some of those catch mechanisms are failing. The fully automatic systems really are not. They're almost double, or not quite double, 50% more than what these are. So that was something we talked hard with the college about kind of expectations and knowing that when we pull these bleachers out, they will have to have staff that flip them up. They are hydraulically assisted, so it's not overly difficult to flip them up. We did test them out on this installation in Enid.
I have a question right there.
Yep.
When you say flip them up, do you mean that like the whole row of seating is laid flat against the aluminum deck and somebody has to pop them up?
Yep.
Is that what you mean?
Grab the back of the seat and flip them up.
Okay.
There is a series of hydraulic cylinders that provide assistance. So one-handed, you can flip a whole row of seats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because right now on ours, as they come out,
there's a little mechanism that catches and then it flips them up and then it locks in place. Okay. We have had those mechanisms fail, and so they don't come up, or they come up and then they don't lock in place. And those are the pieces that we can no longer make, and so we're stealing those parts from when we did the remodel in 17. So it is wrong direction. Is my recommendation to proceed with SOPA for $992,000. I do also want to point out that these funds are coming from the sales tax. So when we collected the sales tax, we collected an additional $1 million for these types of projects down the road. And this 992 will be split 50-50 with the college. So, timing-wise, talked with the staff. They're comfortable at the college that we can get through one more season. This also gives us an additional year to make sure we have, communicating with those who do use the arena in the summer months, that we can move, because we do have a few events to make sure we can accommodate those. And then that will give us a lot of time to work with American Legion, because there are going to be some seat changes due to ADA requirements and egress requirements. We're going to lose some seats, and so that'll give us time to work with the American Legion for the tournament, because they do sell individual seats for that.
Are they one of the only events that sells the seats as individual in advance?
You can buy season tickets through the college as well for individual seats. but it's more important to the Legion because they sell more of them. So.
What is our agreement with the college in reference to maintenance of that building?
So they do daily maintenance, what I would refer to light maintenance, and then anything that gets into heating and cooling systems or anything like that, then the city's responsible for. So daily cleaning, changing of filters, changing of light bulbs, even like ballast and light, that kind of stuff, they take care of all of that. But then when we get into kind of heavy maintenance, it's on the city. And then when we get into capital improvement projects such as this, then we negotiate a cost share.
I appreciate your work, going and looking at these seats and trying to make a very good informed decision.
Will they be blue?
They will be, yep.
Any other questions? Nope. If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the low bid of SOPA Inc. In the amount of $900,000. Oh God, help me out here. $992,270,000. I messed that up, but you know what it says. And 79 cents for the replacement of the telescoping bleachers at the sports arena, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Thought you were going to make it cheaper there for a minute.
Yeah.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 9, report of city officials.
Mr. Garza, will you start us off, please?
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to the Chamber and the Rec Commission for that wonderful out we had at the sports arena this weekend. It was great. A lot of kids there, Santa Claus kids sliding down the slides. I almost wanted to be a kid again. It was a good thing, and I reckon you guys did a good job. Okay. Also on February 10th, I'm going to have my citizens meeting at the Zone. I'm going to wait 2 months because a lot's happening in Hutch. So February 10th, I'll mention at the next meeting. Other than that, that's all I got, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fast?
The downtown master plan, there's another meeting tonight with some of us on the steering committee. I'm excited to see that being finalized. I appreciate previous council's support on helping fund that and the community members that just want to move our community forward. So thanks for that, and Merry Christmas.
All right. Ms. Gauss.
I have a question for either of you about the racetrack meeting. Was that held a couple of days ago, a week ago?
That would be John.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there is a committee, I call it a steering committee for the Hutchinson, the Kansas State Fairgrounds racetrack and what's going to happen there, and we have another committee meeting in January to follow up, and I'm there kind of representing the city of Hutchinson's interests in it.
Okay.
In general, like what we want for a community in regards to attractions.
Okay, so no news, but just moving forward.
Correct.
Okay.
No news.
Okay. Yeah, I want to say, since it's the last meeting of the year, thank you to all of our city staff who keep the city running day over day. I think we get a lot of credit and sometimes a lot of flack, but ultimately our city staff are the ones who are doing all of the hard work and some of the dirty work for sure. And thank goodness that they do, because we are not qualified up here to do that. Some of the events that my family or myself have attended over the past couple of weeks, we went to the gingerbread house event. That was really cool, and it was packed. I mean, I think they made 1,000 gingerbread houses, and I would say they probably had every bit of 1,000 people there, including Santa himself. So that was really a good event. The youth council elected a new council. I attended the event where some of them spoke, and they spoke to what they want to see for youth happening in Hutch over the next year, some of their goals and agenda initiatives, if you will. So that was really good. I think they have some good ideas, and it's our job to support them and provide guidance where we can. Other than that, I think there was a chamber dinner, there was a chamber mixer, there was, I think every night last week there was something to do. with the chamber. And then there was a breakfast, and yeah, you guys were busy. So a lot going on to promote business and networking in Hutchinson. So thank you. Those were all good events. Other than that, Merry Christmas. We didn't do Christmas cards again because I don't have. We didn't even get a family picture this year, so it was not in the cards. But we took some selfies. I'll print one for your fridge. So Merry Christmas, and other than that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's been a tumultuous year. I appreciate everyone's efforts and patience and guidance and strong disagreements, but respectful disagreements sometimes. I appreciate Mary Grace stepping in and helping us out as a city and all the efforts of city staff. It's been a long year for a lot of us. I do sincerely appreciate it. Were you going to mention something in your comments on the Woody Seat update? Okay, then I'll leave that to you. There has been some people that have reached out in regards to the downtown lights on the buildings, and just so you know, the funds for those lights were donated years ago. The city handles the power and I believe replacement bulbs when needed, but the light system has deteriorated with weather, and it's becoming more and more obvious when we get rain or some moisture in the air. It shuts off some of the lights. There is a fund at the Hutchinson Community Foundation that's being put together to raise money for new lights. So as a community, if that's important to us for next Christmas, with all the benefits we had this year with the parade and some of the downtown events going on, I think having a new set of lights would go a long way. With that, I will say Merry Christmas, and I appreciate everything from everyone. I'll see you next year, and I will leave it to Mary Grace.
Thank you. I do have a couple housekeeping things I'd like to go over. Woody Seat, we did put out a notification that we are delayed. We had hoped to open that back up at this time right now, but we have had some delays, and so we're going to postpone the winter opening for safety, to make sure we have all the things done we need to have done. Had to do with weather. So we plan to keep it closed for right now, and open it next month, and then it will reclose in the spring to complete the project. So that's our plan for Woody Seat. Nick had done a great video if you had not had a chance to see it with his drone. I also wanted to mention on 30th, the manhole covers. We are aware, and we do have a plan put in place to get them fixed. The road is great. We're happy with all the hard work that we've gotten done to make that a great thoroughfare, but we do recognize that the manhole covers, they're a little dipped, so we're going to fix that as well. Looking forward to 2024, and we have a plan in 2024 to put together some town hall meetings that we want to come out into the community and listen on different topics that have come up and been raised through open sessions and open mic time, noise abatements, running businesses from homes, campers. There's lots of issues that have come up that are relative to ordinances and to zones and things like that we want to get in front of the community and talk to you about it and get some feedback. Following that, we plan to put forward a campaign from the city about need to know, fill in the blank, need to know what steps you need to take if you want to put a shed in your house. What do you need to do to be able to continue to move through the processes? And that's our plan for 2024, and look forward to that. I cannot thank the council enough and the directors and all the employees of the city for their hard work, their dedication, and helping to continue to move the city forward and welcoming me into the seat and to help me be successful as ever I can to continue to move the project forward. I 100% believe in the dedicated employees that we have working every day, and I appreciate and thank them for all their hard work. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody.
With that, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second. All right.
Whoops.
Please call roll.
Garza?
Yes.
Doss?
Yes.
Fast?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Have a good holiday.
Meeting.